everyone, I'm Ava, and today I wanted to talk to you about Dutch houses and apartments because they're honestly like nothing I've seen in the US. In the past 4 years, when I would visit the Netherlands, and ever since I've moved here, I've had the opportunity to see so many different kinds of Dutch homes. And of course, they stood out to me because they're just totally different from what we have back in the US. Mostly because in the US we have a lot of space, and I know in the Netherlands is really tightly packed. But there were also other things that stood out to me. Now, I thought this was just me and maybe I'm weird and I notice all of these things, but then I actually brought this up with other American expats, and they told me that they had noticed these things too. And I thought, why don't I just put all of this in a video for you Dutch people to either tell me whether this is also strange for you, what parts of this are very normal, or whether some things you would also find a little bit strange. And if you're not Dutch, is it the same where you're from? And if you're American, do you agree with me? Okay, so let's start with if you are just traveling through, let's say, Amsterdam. You're a tourist, you come to Amsterdam, and that was me at some point. And the first thing I noticed is, oh my God, look how tall and skinny these buildings are, and look how beautiful and big the windows are. Oh my God, isn't it adorable that they're so narrow and crooked? Yes. If you guys haven't seen the dancing houses on the canals, that's a good example of how crooked, small, and well, just really great to look at they are. So of course I mentioned this to my girlfriend who is Dutch, and the first thing she says is, yeah, I would never want to live in one of them. It's like, what? Why not? That's amazing. They're by a canal, or even if they're not, they're so cute. I would love to live in them. Oh my God, that one is purple. Imagine living in a purple building. And of course, she reminded me that if a place looks small and cute on the outside, it's probably small and cute on the inside. If you live on the fourth floor of one of these old buildings, chances are there's no elevator. This is an old building. They're not going to tear down an old building and put in an elevator. Some of the buildings have done that, but that's not the case in most of them. Again, back in the US, I am used to elevators. Our buildings were built like yesterday. Yeah, we put elevators in them. So here, not the case, and you might already be familiar that in order to get to this fourth floor apartment, you need to take these really, really steep stairs. Now, I am super unathletic. After staying in one of these apartments, I was super athletic. I could do stairs like anywhere, no problem. I could run. It was just such a great workout for me. Saved me some money on my gym membership, no problem. But these skinny stairs, I mean, Dutch people, how do you do this? They're elderly people who live in this building. What is going on here? Okay, jokes aside, I understand where that comes from, but it's hilarious to look at. It's also pretty funny when people would visit me and my girlfriend in these apartments, and the first thing we would need to tell them is, can we take your suitcases because we feel bad for you for having to walk up the stairs to the apartment we're staying in. But I have to say that even though these apartments are small and they have steep stairs, there's actually some detail that I wanted to point out, and I didn't really notice it the first couple of times that I had visited Amsterdam or Utrecht, where I live now, so basically anywhere in the Netherlands. I hadn't really noticed this, in apartment buildings, but it's actually a really cool detail that when you go inside this apartment building, like before you enter, so you're kind of standing in the arch and entryway of the building. Before you go to the steep stairs and get your workout for the day, if you turn to the left or the right, you will see that there are these beautiful tile details before you enter the building. Now, I actually think those are super cool, and I haven't really seen them in very many places. So again, in the US, our buildings are very functional and honestly super ugly. But these buildings, I mean, the level of detail, you're not even inside of the buildings or really outside. You were kind of in the middle of inside and outside, and somehow you get, someone thought to put these beautiful tiles there because it looks pretty. I mean, hats off to you Dutch people. That's amazing, and just one of my favorite things, hands down, about these apartment buildings. It's this like extra level of attention and detail. But back to the tiny, tiny apartments. Now, I've told you that the apartments are tiny on the inside, which means that when you walk in, you're going to have a tiny layout. Now, Dutch people love their little rooms. It's not in the US when we have small apartments. One way we try to get around it is by having a really open layout. So the kitchen and the living room, both of those things will be merged into one, and then you maybe have a room for the bedroom. I think this is more common in newer apartments in the Netherlands, but in these old Amsterdam apartments, or old Utrecht apartments, again, old city apartments, it's really not the case. Dutch people really like having their separate rooms, and you will even have a door to shut out these rooms. These doors tend to be very beautiful, by the way. They have like these clear glass detail, so it's not really, unpleasing. Everything's very pleasing and pretty. I'm talking about the functionality of actually living in one of these spaces here. So Dutch people love having these separate rooms, and each room is dedicated to something. So you have a tiny living room area. Small apartments, so you're gonna end up having a tiny living room area. If you could, especially in Amsterdam, if you could fit a couch in that space, oh my God, you have made it. You have found a keeper apartment. Moving on to the kitchen, also tiny. Did you expect anything else? If you could go into the kitchen with more than one person in there, so with 2 people or more, again, that is a great apartment. So much space, crazy. Usually these kitchens are also separate, maybe with a door of their own. So, it's not exactly like you can kind of manipulate the space. What you see is what you get. If you see a kitchen that's separate, that's what you have. There's not much you can do with it unless you try and do this huge remodeling there. So, kitchen, small. Living room, small. Bathroom, also very, very, very small. Oh my God, I had never seen a shower on top of a toilet before until I stayed in one of these Amsterdam apartments. Why? Why is the shower on top of a toilet? It literally makes no sense. And also, the bathrooms are so small that when you take a shower, there's water everywhere. Like everywhere. I never had to own one of these squeegee thingies that you had to clean out your shower with every time after you shower. Oh my God, yes, I have one of those now. It's really insane how small these bathrooms can be. And sometimes these bathrooms are even separated, so you have a tiny toilet, which literally only fits your you-know-what in there and nothing else. How do Dutch people with your long legs even manage to squeeze yourself in this tiny little toilet space? Okay, I don't understand. But that is the case, that's what you have. And then you have another very tiny space. At least the ceilings are high in most of these apartments, so I can see how a tall, skinny Dutch person fits in there and takes a shower. So sometimes they're separate in these really 2 tiny boxes, and other times they're put together on top of each other maybe. Why not, save space. That was something, obviously, I was not used to in the US. Again, we have a lot of space. We love our bathrooms. Many people will have more than one for a 1-bedroom apartment. It's not uncommon to, it's a great deal, but it's not uncommon to find a 1-bedroom, so a 2-room apartment in the Netherlands with 2 bathrooms. Yeah, it's just something we like in the US. How many bathrooms does this place have? Super common question. In the Netherlands, you're lucky you have 1. You're lucky if you have that one that you like, but you have 1. And I like to keep things positive. So even though I'm joking about all the different, adjustments that I needed to make once I started living in a smaller space, I always appreciated the positive aspects of these places that come with it. So I'm going to talk about 2. The first really positive thing that I noticed about these places is that they have huge windows. That tends to be the case with these old apartment buildings, because I guess people were like, yeah, windows are great. And I agree. In the US, our windows are, they're windows. They're not big, they're not beautiful. It's just what they are. And they often come with this screen to block out the bugs. Very functional, but not pretty. Here, very pretty. Big windows, they let in light. I absolutely love that. And the second thing that I've noticed that I really, really like is that many of these apartments, even though they're small, come with some kind of outdoor space. So maybe they'll have a little balcony if you're in the city. That's pretty common. Or if you're on the ground floor or the first floor for Americans, you will have maybe a little garden that goes with it. And that's really great. I think that's an important part of the apartment. So even if the apartment is small, then it doesn't feel claustrophobic because when the weather is nice, or I guess that just means when it's not raining here in the Netherlands, which is like not very often. But when it's not raining, you can go outside and, it feels like your apartment's a little bit bigger because of it. As a side note, you Dutch people, when you move into these apartments, you most likely have to furnish it. Dutch apartments don't usually come furnished. And even if they are upholstered, so even if they come with a floor, yes, most apartments don't even come with a floor when you rent or buy. If you get, a upholstered apartment, you will still not have curtains. Curtains, the apartment doesn't come with curtains. Dutch people don't even like to buy curtains very often. You can Google this, Dutch people don't like curtains, or why don't Dutch people have curtains, and you will find something, because Dutch people really just love not having curtains. I love it too because I get to stare into their homes and apartments and get useful info for this video. So if Dutch apartments aren't furnished, I wonder, where do Dutch people buy their furniture? Now I know that sounds like a silly question, but in the US, when you're buying furniture, you have very many options that are low priced. So you can go to Walmart, IKEA, we also have IKEA, we also have certain brands that are slightly above, so we don't need to resort to extremely nice furniture when we don't want to go for IKEA or Walmart furniture. Here in the Netherlands, where do you Dutch people buy your furniture? Because I have seen that you can go to IKEA or you can go to very fancy, expensive store to buy your furniture. In the middle of these two, between, paying 200 euros for a couch and between paying 2,000 euros for a couch, there doesn't seem to be very much in the middle. And now, as far as I know, many Dutch people my age successfully furnished their homes. Where are you guys going? I had such a hard time finding furniture. I had to get it from family members of my girlfriends. We had to find it on the street. We did go to IKEA, and then we had like one or two places that people recommended to us to shop for furniture, but the options seem really, really limited. Okay, so we've talked about apartments. Let's move on to Dutch houses that are super, super cute. Oh my God. Now, it's a Dutch house when it looks like this, and it is really, really tiny, and, well, it is tiny, but you will see Dutch people try to make it a little bigger by having a few add-ons on there. So what's really common here are the dakkapels, or like an attic windows, where you just kind of build out the room a little bit. And yeah, these are really Dutch things. I haven't seen them very much in the US. I haven't seen them in too many places in Europe, but I'm sure other people have thought of this too. But it's a Dutch house when you see a dakkapel. Dutch homes also have this really distinct style depending on what year they were built in. So for instance, the jaren 20 or jaren 30, the 1920s or 1930s houses, you could just tell what they look like. This is what a 1920s home looks like. This is what a 1930s home looks like. You can really just tell. It's great how consistent that architecture is. And of course, the funny thing is, they look the same on the outside, but they also very much look the same on the inside. They all have a similar layout. Living room and kitchen and a little town, that's the Dutch word for garden, and a little garden on the ground floor, the first floor if you're American. And then on the second floor or the first floor in the Netherlands, you'll have the bedrooms. That's kind of how a very small one-family home is structured was structured in the 1920s and 1930s, and it still is. And these are pretty popular in the Netherlands because that was a time when they just built a lot of houses. Now, the funny thing about these houses is okay, they're very cute, and I would love to live in one of these. I like if I could afford that. But these houses are really adorable. And when I say adorable, I do mean that they're small. This is a recurring theme, but they're also very quirky. Now, these are some details that I actually wonder if they might even be strange to some Dutch people. So one of the things that I've seen, maybe not so much in the 1930s houses, but for the 1920-ish, around then, the houses during that time, at least here in Utrecht, what I've seen is that they will have the bathroom on the ground floor. Now, I know you Dutch people are thinking of like a powder room or like a toilet. No, no, no. I'm talking about that's the one bathroom in the house. The toilet plus shower, that's on the ground floor. And there aren't any on the top floor or on the bedroom floor. That's it. Why is it on the ground floor? That doesn't make any sense. Is that weird for Dutch people? Because I mean, I can imagine you want to like use the bathroom in the middle of the night, or you want to change near your clothes, which are in the bedroom. But these bathrooms are literally, they are sort of situated next to the kitchen. I don't understand. Like, I understand there's plumbing there, but other than that, it's really bizarre to me, and I can't figure out, if I could actually get around that if I were to live in one of these houses. So that's one of the things that I noticed that I thought was really quirky. The second quirky thing is, for a lot of these houses that were maybe even built before the 1920s, it's like the living, so they have the 2 floors, maybe they'll have a small attic, but usually it's just the 2 floors. So the ground floor with the living area and the top floor with the bedrooms. The living area on the bottom floor, beautiful, high ceilings, lovely, like so welcoming. Of course you want to live in me, says the house. And then you go up to the 2nd floor, and it's like you're in an attic. You have to bend over to be in these bedrooms. They're like really cramped, really small, and it's a huge change from the bottom floor. So I don't understand. I thought Dutch people were tall. Maybe they weren't tall back then, but how do you fit in there? Also, what were you thinking? I don't understand the logic here. What's going on? Is that strange for Dutch people, or is it just strange for me as an American? Not all Dutch homes are like that, but for a certain type of house and a certain type of era, that's what I've seen. And a final thing that I noticed that I've seen in some houses and apartments even that strikes me as pretty strange is having a random sink in the master bedroom. So you will just have a master bedroom, a normal box of a room, and then out of nowhere on one of the walls, you'll have this sink. And why do you have this sink? It doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm not going to use it because there'll be water everywhere. It's too small for me to use anyway, but I guess that's all Dutch sinks. And of course it only has cold water because, again, all Dutch sinks and like other than the kitchen have only cold water. So I don't understand what's going on with these little sinks. It's not a bathroom. I understand some homes have bathrooms in the bedroom. I had to get used to that, but I thought, okay, that makes sense. It's just different. That's okay. But what is up with this random sink? Are you Dutch people used to this? What's going on there? So those were my observations about what I find interesting in Dutch homes as an American. And maybe you guys have noticed other things about Dutch homes that you would like to share that you particularly love. Maybe you don't agree with something that I've said. Well, let me know in the comments below.